Now, we often speak about racism and its impact on black people. But what about the notion of colorism? That's the idea that within the black community, people discriminate according to what shade you are. And that's the subject of a documentary on the BBC World Service on Saturday. I'll be talking to the documentary maker Vali Fontaine and poet Princess Latifa in a moment. But first, let's hear from some of the people Vali spoke to.
My cousins who were shades darker than me, and they tended to be called, there's this Shona word in Zimbabwe, it's called tsito, which actually refers to charcoal. And so they would refer to the darker skin-toned younger girls, boys, as that.
We lived in a society whereby being dark was actually, it was almost like a crime, you know? You had to be a certain shade of black.
Well, Vali and Princess Latifa are here with me in studio. Vali, let me start with you. You traveled to Washington, is it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and you spoke to various ladies there, and it must have been quite an experience for you. What did you bring home with you? What kind of experiences have they gone through?
The experiences were so similar to the women that I spoke to in London. I spoke to some women in London initially to find out how it had impacted on them, and they mentioned that when they were in primary school they were called names, and as they grew older they felt that when in terms of relationships they were second best. Went to Washington, spoke to women, heard the same stories. When they were children they were picked on. As adults they feel they've been neglected. I even spoke to school children in the United States, and it's as rife today as it was 50 years ago. So what's happened, it seems as though nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. But you based your documentary on Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Why specifically that?
Because the thing that struck me about Michelle Obama when I first saw her in 2008, when President Obama, you know, showed us his wife, she was darker than he was. And it's unusual, from what I've seen certainly, that men in power, black men in power, in public life, have women with a darker skin shade than their own. So this for me was quite unusual. I thought, wow, this is extraordinary.
But even with that, nothing changed, really, has it?
Well, indeed, and this is the thing. Here in the UK, you know, I'm hard pushed to find or think of a black man in power who has a wife who's darker than himself. So, you know, Michelle's leaving office, and for me it was a good moment to see whether her being on centre stage had made any difference.
Princess Latifa, let me bring you in now here, because you have also been exploring the issue of colorism.
Yes.
Tell me why you did what you did in terms of poetry.
I remember going to Turkey on holiday, and I remember for the first time ever, my skin colour was being appreciated as much as I've always appreciated it. So I would walk along and I'd get called Chocolate Princess, I'd get called, you know, Chocolate Queen, Black Beauty. They wanted to take pictures with me. I was like a celebrity just because my skin colour was seen as something so beautiful there. So I lay down on the beach and I got the idea for Pretty for a Dark Skin, and I just remembered everything came rushing back, and I just felt so good in that moment, because that's how I've always felt about myself, and it was finally recognised.
So yours was more of a positive recognition, kind of.
That's how the piece came about, but I have had negative experiences.
All right. We all want to hear you recite a bit of your poem.
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
And then he said to me, "Wow, you're pretty for a dark skin." As if it's unheard of. What does that infer? That a miracle has just occurred, like beautiful and dark skin, wow, that's absurd, as if beautiful and black are opposing words. And this brother's vision must be blurred, but he isn't the first guy who said this to me lately. He is the third, and he needs to reword that now, because maybe I'm just beautiful. Doesn't that transfer?
Princess Latifa, thanks for that. Vali, tell us a bit about your documentary in terms of when it's supposed to be airing and what we should expect, really.
Well, it's been an amazing journey. Initially, we went out to make a 30-minute documentary. We got so much incredible stories that it's now an hour-long documentary. It's going out on the World Service Radio tomorrow, and it's there. Have a listen, learn, understand, sympathise.
What do you want to achieve with this?
I just hope that people will realise they're not alone, because what I've realised is a story that transfers Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, United Kingdom, wherever there are black people, wherever there are people of colour. In fact, China, India, women in countries where there are various shades, the bottom, unfortunately, is the dark shade for many people, and this is a shared experience.
All right, Valley Fontaine and Princess Latifah, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.